was a law in 2023 that passed during this most recent legislative session. It is included in your report in Appendix 2. This act did require representation on the board from each congressional district, require meetings to be recorded upon request, publication of proposed rules and related proceedings on the board's website to cap certain fees, and it went into effect July 1 of 2023. This board is comprised of 7 members that are appointed by the governor and subject to confirmation by the Senate. The board members are required to serve staggered terms. However, that is not happening. They all expire on September 30th, 2023. That is one of a significant issue or prior finding that has been brought forward. At the time of the sunset review, there was one consumer member serving. The board members are not compensated for serving on the board. The board has an emergency contract with Smith Warren Management Services for the administrative, management, and logistical support. Keith Warren, president of Smith Warren Management Services, serves as the board's executive director. The current contract amount is for $11,000 per month and expires September 29th of 2023. This is the third emergency contract. An RFP has been completed and awarded. This was done at the September 11th, 2023 meeting. The contract was submitted to the Contract Review Committee, but was pulled by the Executive Director after he was informed of some errors in the submission of the contract. The board employs 1 retired state employee and 1 exempt or unclassified employee, both part-time as inspectors. Their legal counsel is Matt Bledsoe, who is an Assistant Attorney General with the AG's office. Their funds are housed in the state treasury. I did put out some financial information for this board. It was requested by Representative Underwood yesterday, so I made sure that I made a copy of that for all of you guys to have, since I provided it to Representative Underwood. And can I have this? It looks like this. Yes. So that is with your packets. They had, as of August 3rd, 2023, 3,179 total licensees. This covers massage therapists, establishment instructors, and schools. Their significant issues begin on page 9. Significant issue 2023-001. This is a new significant issue. The board chairperson did not recuse herself from the adoption of the investigative committee's recommendation for complaints involving an individual and entity in which she has a direct professional interest. During the January 20th, 2023 board meeting, a complaint involving the chairperson's massage therapy school and a complaint involving the co-owner of the chairperson's massage therapy school were presented before the board for review. A motion was made to approve the investigative committee's recommendations of closing the school's complaint due to no probable cause and closing the co-owner's complaint as unfounded. The minutes reflect the motion was unanimously approved. While the board's policy dictates that the chairperson only votes on motions in the instances of a tie, had there been a tie, the chairperson would not have been able to vote on the motion at issue. Therefore, the chairperson should have recused herself from being present or participating in the consideration and adoption of a motion altogether in which she has a direct professional interest. The second significant issue, 2023-002, the board chairperson executed an emergency contract for administrative, management, and logistical support services with Smith Warren Management Services prior to receiving board approval. The emergency contract in question was dated and acknowledged by the state's chief procurement officer on September 30th, 2022. However, the emergency contract was not presented to the board and subsequently approved until the October 28th, 2022 meeting.
Do the CPOs require something, minutes from the board or acknowledgement from the board?
The letter, the emergency letter that is submitted to the CPO is usually signed by the board chairman, but otherwise there's no.
Okay.
The board paid Smith Warren Management Services a total of $11,000 for administrative, management, and logistical support prior to entering into an emergency contract. The $11,000 was paid for the month of September 2022. The invoice was dated September 1st, 2022, and it was paid on September 12th, 2022. Additionally, the board paid for services rendered from August 8th, 2022 through August 31st, 2022, for which no emergency contract was in effect. The prior emergency contract expired on August 8th of 2022, and the subsequent emergency contract did not become effective until September 30th, 2022. So the board had 3 emergency contracts. And there was just a lapse in the dates, and they made a payment for services in that lapse. The next significant issue, 24 payments made to Smith Warren Management Services were reviewed. Supporting documentation for 20 of these payments revealed that payments were made and paid by the board before the services were rendered. This is the same issue we've had at other boards where the payments are made at the beginning of the month before the services are fully received by the board, which is a violation of the Constitution as well as the fiscal policies and procedures of the state. Significant issue number 5. The board did not comply with the Open Meetings Act as it relates to conducting meetings via electronic means. A meeting held on August 5th, 2022 had 1 board member attending virtually, and the meeting held on January 20th of 2023 had 2 board members attending virtually. The code states that if a member is participating in a meeting of a governmental body by electronic means as authorized, the governmental body shall ensure that means of access to the electronic communication is published in the same manner as the notice of the meeting is published. A review of the Secretary of State's website did not reveal the board's publishing the means of access to the electronic communication. Additionally, during the May 3rd, 2023 meeting, the board approved a motion to end all virtual meetings of the board. Discontinuing virtual meetings of the board could restrict licensees and interested parties who cannot attend the meetings in person from observing and offering input on the board's officials' actions. Significant issue number 6. The board did not notify the Secretary of State of a vacancy occurring as a result of a resignation in a timely manner. The board member resigned on January 20th, 2023, and the board notified the Secretary of State on March 23rd, 2023, 62 days after the resignation. The code section requires that this notification occur within 15 days of the vacancy. All right, significant issue number 7. The board's administrative rule regarding inspections of massage therapy establishments conflicts with Code Section 344311F. According to the Code Section 344311F, only establishments owned by an individual who is not a resident of Alabama are subject to initial inspection. The board's administrative rule 532-X-3-046 states, upon receipt of an application for a massage therapy establishment license, the board may cause an initial inspection to be made of the site to confirm that the establishment meets the above requirements and is utilized for massage therapy and not for the purposes unlawful under the statutes. The language in the rule appears to potentially subject all massage therapy establishments to an initial inspection regardless of whether or not the owner is an individual who is not a resident of Alabama. Additionally, neither the emergency rules filed with LSA on July 3rd, 2023, nor the proposed rule changes filed with LSA on July 20th, 2023 rectify this conflict. The next significant issue, the board's administrative rule regarding licensure application approvals conflicts with the Code of Alabama, Section 34436J. Act 2023-490 that was effective July 1st, 2023, amended that same code section to remove the language allowing the board to grant application approval authority to the executive director. However, the board's administrative rule 532X2.022 states, the board as a whole shall hold hearings on written allegations or misconduct or violations of the Act and sit to consider applications for licensure and approval. The board may delegate application approval authority to the executive director when 3 requirements are met: graduation from an approved massage therapy school with a minimum of 650 hours, successful completion of a board-approved examination, and evidence of possession of a liability insurance policy of no less than $1 million. applicants not meeting those three specifications, 2023, nor the proposed rule changes filed with LSA on July 20th, 2023, rectify the conflict. Further, during the June 28th, 2023 meeting, the board approved an application approval policy that still allows the executive director to approve applications based on certain criteria. Significant issue number 9, the Code of Alabama, Section 344320C conflicts with the Code of Alabama, Section 344314A5 regarding the registration of massage therapy instructors. Section 344320C states that the board shall register as a massage therapy instructor any applicant who meets all of the following requirements. And the second one is, has filed a completion application prescribed by the board and paid a one-time application fee pursuant to Section 344314. However, Section 344314A states, by rule, the board shall assess and collect the following fees not to exceed $100 to register and renew a registration as a massage therapy instructor. A review of the board's cash receipts for fiscal years 21, 22, and 23 up to July 31st did not disclose instances of the board collecting a renewal fee, but there's still a conflict.
So are you saying that the statute and the rule are in conflict there, but whether or not any renewal fees were ever collected could not be determined, or you know that no renewal fees had been collected?
A statute and a statute are in conflict.
Yeah.
And we did review the cash receipts for fiscal years 21 and 22 and up to July 31st of 2023, and we didn't see where this fee had been collected.
Okay. Well, I'd say that's not on them, that's on us. But, sorry.
So have they offered anything as far as the rectification? How do they feel that this should, since they're the one, this is where the rubber meets the road. They've got to deal with this. They work with this every day, and so it's hard to work with something that's a conflict.
The board's response is that they will remove the renewal fee for instructors at the September 11, 2023 meeting. And there are published rule amendments that will include the repeal of this renewal fee in the final adoption, and they said it would be resolved in the month of September. And they've already had that
And the
meeting.
statute is something that we're going to have to deal with.
So, I only have the summary.
They got a lot of issues here.
Okay. Number 10, Act 2023-490, that was effective July 1st, 2023, amended the Code of Alabama, Section 344314, to remove and reduce fee amounts the board could charge for licensure. The board's emergency rules filed with LSA on July 2nd, 2023, and the proposed rule change filed with LSA on July 20th, 2023, are not in compliance with the amended fee amounts. While Code Section 344314B allows the board to charge necessary administrative fees to recoup costs of performing certain services, the board should not adopt administrative rules to charge fees not authorized by statute. The board's rules include the following fees that are not authorized by statute: a license verification fee of $10, an administrative fee for the establishment reinspection of $100, an administrative fee for the waiver of the new establishment licensure fee of $50. Additionally, the proposed administrative rules will assess the following fees in an amount exceeding the maximum amount set in Act 2023-490. A late renewal fee of $50 when the maximum that was set in the Act was $25, and an expired license reactivation fee of $100 when the maximum amount that was set is $75.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused because some of the same administrators are over different boards and agencies, and I'm just wondering how we get the same complaints coming up, the carryover of contracts, the violation of the law, and I don't understand it. I think that's part, and I know the person that's there, I know that, I'm sure they're doing a good job, but I don't understand why or how these conflicts that keep coming up with the same thing. I mean, knowledge is transferable. So I'm hoping that they can address this.
Understand, and this may not, this is probably more of a legal or procedural question, but when those rules are submitted, and I truthfully don't know the answer to this, but do all of those proposed rule changes go through legislative council? I think I may have asked that before, I just don't remember. All right. Do you know if these proposed rule changes went through legislative?
I don't think legislative council has taken up any rule changes, just last side.
Oh,
Okay.
but,
So it's not, okay, so it's not all rule changes come, it's just if there's an objection, then that will be on the agenda. Okay, all right.
so is it that these people who serve on the board, well, but certainly the administrator of it, who has all these other different accounts, has gone through and they understand it, is it that the board members don't understand the process of making changes, or they just feel that they can just make changes? And do they not know about the legislative council? You know, it'd be best to submit whether you have to go through it or not, at least you'll know. Somebody explain to me, I'm confused here.
Well, I would say my concern is, I'll just go ahead and lay it on the table. My concern is that if there was an act, whatever the reference number is, and they're setting fees, and if there is a proposed rule change, I'm not throwing, I don't know who lawyers are, but you would have thought that would have been caught from the legal side too. Here's what your statute says, and if there's a proposed rule change, is it in direct conflict with what the statute says? Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right, significant issue 2023-11. The board is not in compliance with its complaint handling procedures regarding the execution of consent agreement. A review of the board's minutes and 108 executed consent agreements during the sunset review rollover period disclosed the following discrepancies. 108 consent agreements were executed prior to being presented to the board for approval. 99 consent agreements contained fines that were paid and deposited into the board state treasury fund prior to the consent agreement being presented for board approval. The board's complaint handling process displayed on their website states that the following occurs once an investigation is complete. The investigative committee reviews the complaint and agrees to the appropriate recommendation. The investigative committee's recommendations are reviewed by the board at a regular meeting. The board votes to accept the recommendation or can vote for a different disposition, and the complainant is notified of the disposition. Code Section 344315A mandates complaints received by the board are referred to the investigative committee consisting of a board member, the executive director, board attorney, and a board investigator. Only when no probable cause is found can the investigative committee unilaterally act upon a complaint without board approval by dismissing the charges or preparing a written statement for the reasons for the decision. Significant issue 2023-12. The board allowed a licensee to renew a massage therapist license prior to fulfilling the requirements mandated in the consent agreement. The consent agreement mandated the licensee meet the following requirements: pay an administrative fine of $1,000 due by April 21st, 2022, attend and provide proof of graduating a sexual boundary course by June 20th, 2022, complete a one-year probationary period. Based on the information contained in the licensee's complaint file and a review of the board's financial records, the licensee did not provide proof of graduating from a board-approved sexual boundary course or pay the $1,000 administrative fine. An email correspondence dated October 11th, 2022 between the board's legal counsel, executive director, legal assistant, investigator, and an inspector stated that if the licensee did not follow through with the consent agreement, the board would set a hearing for the original charges. A review of the board's minutes did not disclose an instance of the board conducting a hearing for the licensee's noncompliance with the consent agreement. Significant issue 2023-13. Licensed massage therapists and massage therapy establishments responding to our surveys have a negative perception of the board and how the board conducts its day-to-day operations. Requests for participations in our survey were sent to 119 massage therapists and 100 licensed massage therapy establishments. 27 licensed massage therapists and 20 licensed massage therapy establishments responded. 24 of the 27 licensed massage therapists, or 88%, and 15 of the 20 licensed massage therapy establishments, or 75%, stated that the board was the most significant issue currently facing their profession in Alabama. Reasons cited for this perception include 16 of the 27 licensed massage therapists and 9 of the 23 licensed massage therapy establishments responded that the board's laws, rules, or policies are an unnecessary restriction on their practice. 18 of the 27 licensed massage therapists and 9 of the 20 licensed massage therapy establishments responded licensees are not adequately informed of the board's positions, policies, rules, and laws. 15 of the 27 licensed massage therapists responded that the board does not respond to inquiries in a timely manner. And 15 of the 27 licensed massage therapists responded that the board does not perform licensing and renewals in a timely manner. The prior significant issue that came forward deals with board member appointments. Board members were not appointed to staggered terms as required. According to the statute, 3 board members' terms should expire September 30th, 2021, and 4 should expire September 30th, 2023. Currently, they all expire September 30th, 2023. This was unresolved. As of August 22nd, 2023, the current board members do not have staggered terms, and they are all set to expire on September 30th.
Members?
Well, it could be a plus if they're all going to expire on the 30th. I mean, you know, now you got an opportunity to reorganize. Maybe some of those people may be reappointed, but you have an opportunity there if they would do what they have to do.
Dixie, remind us, if you will, who's the appointing authority for those board members?
The governor.
For all 7, I think it is?
Yes, sir.
Confirmation by the
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, members, any questions, comments, concerns?
I've been round and round with this particular board and this past session anyway, and it's taken, I think, years off both of our lives. But I do think that we came together in a room one time, was a table about like this, but down in LSA with everybody, some people off of their board, Mr. Warren, Othney, some people that were disgruntled at the same time, some people in the Senate, and came up with a game plan. There's issues with this particular board. And we said, let's go through these, and we went through all of it. We got everything kind of hashed out except for 3 major issues. In the end, we split one of the issues. Mr. Warren won one of those issues, then the disgruntled people won also. We also had the human trafficking department from the AG's office was in there with us. And in the time we walked out, not everyone was happy, but everyone agreed to it. Then after that, I think we went down a path of trying to change the bill before we had the substitute finalized out on the floor, then trying to change it again. I think just going through here, and I was just marking these as you were going through them, Dixie, is that a lot of this is board education. You can see where some of these questionnaires talking about the board members are asking for education on some of this, but I think it's very, very appropriate on one of these. Let me find it real quick for a response, and I was just reading it last night. And I've lost it, so give me 2 seconds. But what it amounts to is the fact of the board is only as good as the executive director and us work and communicate together and is educated. There's good people on this board, Senator. There really are. I know some of them. I think that there just needs to be continued education in this particular field, and sometimes when you have an executive director doing most of the work, and then especially going against some of the constitutional things and the law that we passed last year, all the way from, has only been since we had that meeting approximately at the end of March until now. So, you know, we're looking at 6 months. I think there's some issues there. So I'd like to address most of those tomorrow if that's okay, but I'm going to go ahead and state that I'd like to talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, questions, comments, concerns? All right, moving along, on-site wastewater